Hi, it's Stephanie. Welcome back to my channel, and I've got a book to talk about so far. So this is going to be a new reading vlog. I'm not sure if I've done one in the month of April yet. It is currently April 11th. And I think I've read 2 books. Granted, the one book did not have an audio, and it was a mammoth of a book to read without having some audio help. Especially since the majority of my reading happens when I'm laying down and winding down for the night, which I'm trying to change. I'm trying to read more throughout the day, but that helps if I have the audio. And this book just doesn't have an audio book yet. And the book that I'm going to be talking to you about today is Mile High by Liz Tomford, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. It is 603 pages on the Kindle, and I enjoyed it. However, I think it was too long. And it is a very hyped book. And I have, so some of the booktubers and Instagrammers that I follow have great things to say about this book. And while everything that they have said is valid and I agree with, there is just something about it that I have to just knock it down a little bit. First things first is the fact that I live in the Chicagoland area, not in the city where the story takes place, but I know enough about the city to see what is realistic and unrealistic when it comes to settings that take place in Chicago. And it took me a little bit so I know that it's a fiction book, but it took me a little bit to grasp the concept that she changed the hockey team name to the Chicago Raptors. It's currently the Chicago Blackhawks, has been since like 1917, because the Chicago Blackhawks was like one of the first 6, they're like the first 6 hockey teams in the NHL. And so it took me a while to go with the name Raptor. I have no problem with the name, and I have no problem that she changed it. Actually, I kind of like that she changed it. 1, so that she doesn't have like any copyright issues with it. 2, I know it's a fictional book, and it just makes sense to change it. But the colors were the same, so it was still red, black, and white. And she changed it from the Chicago Bulls, which is our NBA team, to the Chicago Devils, which I actually think I like better. But I'm also not like a big basketball person. But so it took me a while to like really get into the whole Chicago Raptor and Chicago Devil when I'm so used to it being the Chicago Blackhawks and the Chicago Bulls. That's just a me thing. That is not to say that it took away from the story or that other people are going to have this issue. Like, this is just a me thing. It just I had a harder time connecting with what the teams were because of the name change, but I get why the name was changed. That being said, she still used the United Center, which is the arena where the Chicago Bulls and the Chicago Blackhawks play out of, and she did keep it as a shared space between the two teams, which I appreciated because I know that it's kind of rare, so she at least did her research for that. What she did not do her research on is, so the main character, Stevie, she is a flight attendant on the Chicago NHL's private plane, and there was this one scene, and I could not get over it, that they were on an overnight flight to go home to Chicago from Detroit. And the distance between Detroit and Chicago is not very far. But the way that this scene was being depicted was like it was hours long, and there was the team had like a dinner during this overnight flight, and the dinner was a filet mignon, and it was not feeling realistic, and it took me so much out of the experience of reading because the Detroit to Chicago flight, you're on the airplane for literally an hour and 15 minutes and up in the air for only about 45 to 48 minutes, depending on how the wind is blowing. And I just could not get over the fact that in a 45-minute flight that was considered in the book an overnight flight, and they were getting a full dinner service with filet mignon and everything, and it just was driving me absolutely bonkers for that one scene. And I think that one scene just kind of like dropped it a little bit for me. But that's, again, just a me thing. That's just me knowing that the flight from Detroit to Chicago is not that long of one. Like, you get in the air and you're basically down on the tarmac literally 45 minutes later. And I just could not get over that. So that took away from the reading experience for me just a little bit. And I guess this is just a problem I have with reading things that take place in a town where I either live or I am close to geographically. While I love reading Chicago-based books and I really love seeing how authors incorporate Chicago, it's also I'm going to be nitpicky about. And this was just one of those books that I was a little nitpicky about. And again, that is a me problem. It's me. I'm the problem. And I totally understand the hype around this book. It is a great, great romance. And I think I just have to look at it in that perspective of how great of a romance it is, because the romance between Stevie and Xander's is just, it's so well done. It's so great. There's like a forbidden romance to it because technically she works for the team, and so there's this workplace romance that's forbidden. Like, she'll get fired if anyone finds out that they are together. There's some angst and there's a lot of trauma that these two characters have had in the past dealing with their parents. And all that being said, I loved their love story. Their love story was so great. I just think it was drawn out a little too much. Like, I don't think this needed to be a 603-page book. I think this could have been executed just as well, if not better, if it was just a little more concise and condensed down into maybe a 450-page book. I think that would have been a lot better. I do think that there were some things that could have changed. Like, we didn't need to know that Stevie is not like all the other girls 20,000 times. I understand she's not like other girls. I got it the first couple of times that it was mentioned. I didn't need the 15,000 extra scenes saying that this girl likes to wear sweatpants instead of decking herself all glammed up. That's fine. I'm glad with that. I myself do not get all glammy, just for rare occasions. And I think that was a little repetitive. It could have been more concise. The last few could have just been cut out. I feel like this book could have been much better if it was like 450 pages rather than 600 plus. That being said, I do want to read the second book in the series, which is about Stevie's brother, who is part of the NBA team in this series, and Stevie's friend that she became really close to, who is another flight attendant. And it's their romance. And I'm super excited for their romance. I really, really enjoyed seeing what happened to Indy towards the end of this book to set up for book 2. And I did take a look at book 2 to see if it was just as long as book 1, and thank God it's not. It's like it's between 300 and 400 pages, and I am so thankful for that, because these books don't have audiobooks yet, and it is so much easier to get through a 300 to 400 page book without an audio than it is to get through a 600 page book without an audio. And I don't feel like I don't think it'll take me as long to get through, because granted, it only took me about, I think, 6 days to get through book 1. It was a struggle those 6 days, and it felt like it took forever, which I think also took away from my reading experience. So Mile High by Liz Tomford, I am personally going to be giving it a 3.5 stars. But since Goodreads doesn't do half stars, I will round it up to a 4 for Goodreads, just because I know that the majority of people are going to like this book. It's just the stuff that deterred me was seriously just me. It was a me problem. It was not a book. It was not a problem because of the book. It was a problem because I had a hard time just connecting what I know from the Chicagoland area that didn't resonate within the book. But not everyone's going to have that problem. In fact, even people from the Chicagoland area probably won't have that problem. That's just a me thing. So I will round it up to a 4 on Goodreads, but for me personally, in my own stats, it's a 3.5 star. That being said, that is the book that I finished yesterday, and I have to figure out what I'm going to start today. I have to edit the video, but I did do my April TBR with my TBR game, and I do have those books picked out, and so I'm going to try to stick with what is on that TBR. I'm really trying to stick to these TBRs, guys, but it's a struggle. March was a struggle for me. Anyways, so I'm going to fix up this hair just a little bit. I'm going to try and figure out what I'm going to read next. And then I recently, this morning I watched a video on this really great Notion reading template. I will have the link down below, and I'm actually going to show you guys a little bit because I'm going to start setting that up today, because from what I've seen, this has everything that I need. There's been so many reading templates on Notion that I've tried, and I like a little bit of each, but there isn't one that I have that encompasses everything that I want. And this one seems to have, I think, the majority of the things that I want all in one template, rather than me having to try and figure out how to incorporate different templates and make it into one. It's been a struggle, guys. I am trying to make Notion work for me, and I really want it to work for me because I feel like it'll be the easiest thing for me to get all of my thoughts down when it comes to these books, and I want it to help organize like my videos and everything, because I have a whole bunch of ideas to do for these, but I have things just randomly written down and I can't always find it, and I think Notion will be the greatest because I can have it on my phone, can have it on my laptop, whatever, and I'm gonna walk through a little bit while I set it up. So that'll be coming. But yeah, so I will get back to you when I do some more updating. This is something that my husband and my kids got me for my birthday, which was this past weekend. I'm obsessed with Doctor Who, and my favorite Doctor is number 10, which is David Tennant. So they got me the David Tennant Build-A-Bear. I'm super excited. And this is where I have my books that I'm hoping to read for the month. Those are my library books. I actually have to return, at least 2 of them. And then I just got this in the mail from Entangled Publishing. It was a surprise book mail. I'm super excited to read this. I think it already came out. Yeah, it came out in April of 2020. It was just, I think they did like a little giveaway for their insiders, and I signed up. And this was the book that I got from them. So these are the books that I'm hoping to pick from for the month. And I don't really know what I'm in the mood for. I know for my TBR Connect 4 on the in the reading book club that I'm part of on Facebook, it's called the Book Revolution. There we go. The Book Revolution book club on Facebook. They do like a Connect 4 bingo and tic-tac-toe game every month, and I've stepped up from the
tic-tac-toe to the Connect 4, just to give myself a little bit more prompts. And on there, I need to read a standalone. And I think the only standalone I have in this pile is Breaking All the Rules. I think everything else is technically part of a series. I had asked if books in companion series would be suitable for standalone, since most companion series, the books are read as standalones. You don't have to read them in any sort of order. You don't even have to read all of them. But they already said no to that. So I think the only one I have is Breaking All the Rules, which is also published by Entangled. So I think this might be the one I start next. So Kara's bookshelf is where I got the Notion template. It's actually this video right here, a Reader's Ultimate Notion template. If you like Notion and have been struggling with getting a reading template that works for you, I highly suggest checking out her video. I really, really liked it. It's got almost anything that you can think of, and you can customize views. So like if it's too much, you can condense it and whatnot. So I highly recommend doing that. And I went ahead and I purchased her template earlier this morning, and we are going to go ahead and start setting it up.
Leave it all behind. Let it all go. It's not worth it anymore. You can't convince them or change their minds. It's hard to be kind. You're accused of thin air. Some people, you know them, and they won't know you. Friends can easily become a foe. Blood sometimes just won't let you go. It rains, and you don't know why it pains you so, and it won't stop for a while. Just hang in there, it's worthwhile. To you, I know it's hard. Find something to do to keep yourself occupied when the world gets mad.
Okay, so I know earlier this afternoon I said I was going to pick up Breaking All the Rules because it was a standalone. Well, I didn't, and instead I picked up a series. But the good news is it is part of the TBR that I had picked out for this month. So it is A Kingdom of Stars and Shadows by Holly Renee. It is a fantasy romance, and I just started chapter 3. All I know about it right now is that it is an arranged marriage, and there are fae and vampires. That's all I know. Oh no, the other thing that I know is one of my best friends from college read it last year, loved it, told me about it. I immediately purchased it and kept putting it off until right now. The audiobook did just release last week, and at the rate that I am going, I could potentially finish this tonight. It is a rather short book. It is 272 pages, I think.
You look at me like I'm crazy when I shut my feelings out. You look at me like I'm different, still you stay cause you feel something real. Get so lost in my moments, doesn't mean I don't need you. I fell in love with your colors, they kinda tell me what I'm thinking. I fell in love with the way we are and the way we lose it. There's something different about us, and the reason why we stay. We fly around like paper planes, they never know where we will fall. Nobody can see us, still they wanna tear us apart. There's something different about the way we are.